Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Sri Lanka Conference 2013, Asia's Next Knowledge Hub. Please stand as we begin proceedings for the day with the customary lighting of the oil lamp. For this, I would like to invite the following dignitaries to come forward. Mr. Gotabe Rajapaksa, Secretary, the Ministry of Defence and Urban Development. Mr. Ajit Singh Cabral, Governor, Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Mr. Hussain Yusufali, Chief Executive Officer, Hemans Holdings PLC. Dr. Sanjeev Veeravarna, Chairman, WSO2 and SL2 College. Mr. Nayana Samranayaka, Founder and Director of SL2 College. Ms. Gillian Das, Chairperson, WorkInSriLanka. And Ms. Kanchana Abagahavita, Senior Economist, Central Bank of Sri Lanka. May I please ask you to stand once again for the national anthem? Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by introducing myself. I am Nalisha Nanakara, a member of the WorkInSriLanka team and co-chair of this conference. I obtained my BSc in Information Systems and Management from the University of London in 2008. Having been awarded a PhD Weil Scholarship, I proceeded to complete my master's degree in Information Systems from the London School of Economics and returned to Sri Lanka in 2011. I'm currently working as a consultant at Register Private Limited, a global information technology services company. I joined the WorkInSriLanka project last December. Since then, it has been a great pleasure to work with a team of fantastic volunteers from the launch in May this year to our inaugural conference today. Indeed, Sri Lanka has great potential to become Asia's next knowledge hub, and I encourage all of you to be a part of this great journey. At this point, I would also like to thank all of our sponsors, without whom this event would not be possible. Next, I would like to call upon Ms. Gillian Das, Chairperson of the WorkInSriLanka team, to present the welcome address and outline the WorkInSriLanka vision. Gillian is a Senior Associate Product Manager at WSO2, a complete open source middleware corporation. She has over 5 years of experience in the banking industry, which includes financial analysis and planning, implementation of university management systems, banking and finance systems, and customer service support systems. Gillian has been a volunteer since the launch of WorkInSriLanka and assumed duties as chairperson of this project from August 2013. She herself is a returnee, having read for a BSc in Information Technology at the University of Sydney, and is passionate about promoting Sri Lanka as an attractive work destination. Please welcome Ms. Gillian Das. A very good morning to all of you, and welcome to Work in Sri Lanka Conference 2013, Asia's Next Knowledge Hub. To start off today's proceedings, I would first like to give all of you a brief intro into what Work in Sri Lanka is, our vision, and what we do here. So Work in Sri Lanka is a project by SL2 College. SL2 College was founded in 2005. And the main aim of SL2 College is to help students who are looking for university placements. Initially, it started off with helping these students who want to move overseas for higher studies, but then now we've also extended this to students locally. So SL2 College provides mentoring programs and helps these students to get beneficial university placements according to their requirements. But something that was encountered was that many of these students who leave the country for higher studies tend to stay back in those countries and join the workforce of those countries, which in fact caused a brain drain issue for us here in Sri Lanka. Another problem we noticed was that though there were people who were interested in moving back to Sri Lanka for work purposes, they had a lack of information. They didn't have comprehensive unbiased information available to help them make the decision. Stemming from all these problems, we founded Work in Sri Lanka. This was launched in May this year. Work in Sri Lanka is a non-profit, non-government, completely volunteer-based organization. All our volunteers come from various industry backgrounds, and we all work towards promoting Sri Lanka as an attractive work destination. We are all passionate about this, and we want to promote this to attract people coming back and solve the brain drain issue that we have here. Work in Sri Lanka's vision is to make Sri Lanka the world's #1 work destination. I know we are not there yet, and we have a lot of work to get there. But if we want to get back the brain, have some brain gain here in Sri Lanka, then it is important that we portray and make Sri Lanka the world's #1 work destination. How do we get about doing this? We have a few mission statements on how we get to this. Initially, we had the problem of the lack of information, as I mentioned previously. So for this, we launched a portal, a self-service information portal in May 2014 along with our launch. This portal provides comprehensive, unbiased information to people who intend to move back here to Sri Lanka. We know that the #1 problem is job placements for anyone who is considering moving back here. So this portal helps you with that, as well as various issues such as immigration, taxation, as well as social issues and concerns that people may have, such as housing, where do they put their children to school. These are all mundane and social issues that people have when making the move here to Sri Lanka. So we provide this information to help them make that decision. It's also quite interactive because people are able to connect with any of our volunteers if they have any specific concerns, and we try our utmost best to give them the required answers. To have this brain gain initiative, we need to also work towards improving Sri Lanka as an attractive work destination. For this, we need to work towards beneficial policies which would attract these skilled executive level people back into the country. We also target at expatriates, so we need to have beneficial policies in place for them as well. So we at Work in Sri Lanka work towards getting these beneficial policies implemented. Further, we also have to have access to these high skill level, executive level job placements. People need to have access to them, so we help them in whatever way we can to know about the vacancies. And this takes us to where we provide a link between the job seekers and executive positions. I would like to iterate here that we are not a job placement agency. In fact, we provide the link. We know that many of the high executive level jobs are not openly advertised. You need access to the overboy network. That's another issue, that many of these people who have been overseas for a long time
when they come back here, they've lost touch with people and they have problems getting connected to this network. So we here at Work in Sri Lanka have the right contacts, and we help them to create a link to network and thereby help solve their job placement issues as much as possible. We're the bridge between the job seekers and the vacancies. We also intend as the next phase to have some mentoring program. We know that when moving here, like as I mentioned previously, people have a lot of social issues and concerns that need to be addressed. So we want to have mentoring programs where we would have a few recent returnees, mentor people potential returnees who want to actually move back here to Sri Lanka so that they could address various concerns that they may have when making the decision to move here. We know that to get to a focused effort, we carry more weight if we go as a group rather than as a single organization. So for this, we've partnered with various industry organizations so that as a whole, we can work towards this common goal. Currently, we've partnered with SLASCOM, the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, and the Employees Federation of Ceylon. We have a few other partnerships in the pipeline which we hope to sign soon. So what we do with these partners is we work towards, we join with them in getting these beneficial policies implemented, as well as the partnership with them helps us create the link for these job seekers. So these partner organizations have access to the relevant industry bodies. So we can create a link with the job seekers and them, and we provide that linking. And we have another long-term mission, which we hope to roll out soon. We want to facilitate creative forms of working in Sri Lanka. So working here in Sri Lanka and contributing to the economy does not mean you have to be physically located here. You could be wherever you are in the world and still have a little community that contributes to the country's economy. So we want to work with corporate organizations to create job opportunities where people can actually contribute consultancies and contribute their skills towards the development of Sri Lanka's economy. And we are also in line with the national vision around the 5 hub strategy, where we are totally focusing on the knowledge hub strategy. We know that it's something we need a lot of work. We need to improve the tertiary education here so we could help retain the people here because we tend to see that many of the people, due to the problem of the tertiary education, they tend to move out of Sri Lanka, so we need to improve that as well. And we hope to work towards that. And to portray Sri Lanka as a knowledge hub, that's how we came about this inaugural conference, Work in Sri Lanka Conference 2013. What we target to do at this conference is we want to bring together the following people. We want to bring together recent returnees, expatriates, and potential returnees. We also have a few corporate representatives here. So our whole point is to bring together all these people so that they could network, discuss whatever challenges, whatever concerns they have in moving here to Sri Lanka. Let me just briefly go through the agenda we have for today. We will start off with the public and private sector vision, along with the economic opportunities that are available here in Sri Lanka. Then we will have a returnee panel consisting of recent returnees as well as expats, where they would share their views, their experiences they encountered when making the move here to Sri Lanka. Next panel would consist of overcoming barriers and challenges. So it would look at what are the barriers and challenges you have to face when you're making the move here to Sri Lanka and how do we overcome these. Finally, we'll have a corporate leaders panel consisting of representatives from diverse corporate organizations, and they will discuss the job opportunities and what opportunities you have when you move here to Sri Lanka. We will conclude our conference with a post-conference cocktail session which will provide a networking opportunity for everyone. Thank you. I hope all of you enjoy this day and it provides information you require. Thank you.
Julian for outlining Work in Sri Lanka vision and mission for our audience. It now gives me great pleasure to invite our first speaker, Mr. Gotabe Rajapaksa, Secretary to the Ministry of Defence and Urban Development, to address the audience on Sri Lanka's readiness to become Asia's next knowledge hub. Mr. Rajapaksa assumed duties as the Secretary to the Ministry of Defence in November 2005 and was instrumental in guiding the Sri Lanka Defence Services to end a 30-year-long terrorist conflict in 2009. Having completed his basic officer cadet training at the BAallroom Military Academy and his staff course at the Defence Services Staff College in Wellington, India, he obtained his master's degree in Defence Studies from the University of Madras in 1983. Mr. Rajapaksa joined the Sri Lanka Army in 1971 and served his country as a distinguished soldier for over 20 years, during which time he was also awarded the Rana Vikrama and Rana Sura medals for valor in combat, amongst other commendations. In 1991, he was appointed Deputy Commandant of the Sir John Kothalavala Defence University, prior to which, as Lieutenant Colonel, was Coordinating Officer of the Valley-Oya area from 1990 to 1991. Following his successful career in the Sri Lanka Army, Mr. Rajapaksa obtained a master's degree in Information Technology from the University of Colombo. He subsequently worked as the Unix System Administrator of the prestigious Loyola Law School in California, USA, before returning to Sri Lanka to serve his mother nation once again. In his role as Secretary to the Ministry of Defence and Urban Development, Mr. Rajapaksa is also the visionary leader behind the urban regeneration work currently being done throughout Sri Lanka. Please welcome Mr. Gotabe Rajapaksa. Thank you.
Good morning. Governor of Central Bank, Sri Lanka, the organizers of this Working Sri Lanka workshop, the distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to address you this morning at the inaugural Work in Sri Lanka Conference. In keeping with the national vision for economic growth, this conference explores Sri Lanka's potential to become Asia's next knowledge hub. Capitalizing on its present opportunities to achieve this transformation would have seemed impossible even a decade ago, when Sri Lanka remained affected by terrorism. When His Excellency Mahinda Rajapaksa was elected to the presidency in 2005, he had a very clear vision of ending the terrorist conflict and bringing peace and stability back to the country. This was one of the core promises of the Mahinda Chintana, which outlined his vision for the first term of his presidency. Less than 5 years into that first term, terrorism in Sri Lanka was defeated and peace was won for our people. The Mahinda Chintana Idiridatma, which outlines the President's vision for his second term in office, focuses on strengthening the peace and stability and fast-tracking the economic development. The main thrust of the development strategy identified is the transformation of Sri Lanka into a dynamic global hub. This strategy makes full use of Sri Lanka's strategic position in the center of the Indian Ocean. It's educated and productive workforce, and it's hard-won peace, stability and security. It envisions that Sri Lanka will become a naval, aviation, commercial, energy and knowledge hub. The government has been laying the seeds of this transformation since before the end of the war. Its investment in vital infrastructure such as the Hambantota port, Mattala airport, energy generation and transmission facilities, and high quality road and rail networks have created a strong base on which to build for the future. The task before all of us now is to make maximum use of this foundation to the Sri Lanka, to bring the Sri Lanka to the next level. There are already glimpses of Sri Lanka's true potential in the many sectors it excels in. Its apparel and garment industry is widely known as one of the best in the world. In addition to manufacturing clothing of the highest quality of leading brand, Sri Lankan companies are increasingly recognized for design, innovation and the adoption of cutting-edge technologies. Sri Lanka's apparel industry is also widely recognized for complying with international best practices and being free of child labor, forced labor and sweatshop practices. Companies and groups such as Brandix, Mass Holdings and the Hydramani groups, etc. are world-class enterprises in this sector. The expertise of Sri Lankan professionals is also much sought after by firms in the apparel industry in other countries. In addition to the world's first green garment factory, there are a number of LEED, Platinum and Gold certified production facilities in the country. This is a strong indication of Sri Lanka's potential to be a high-tech, world-class competitor in large global industries. In the computer industry, Sri Lanka has produced several innovative companies and engineers who have developed software used in many critical applications around the world. Large local firms such as Virtusa, Millennium IT, WSO2, IFS and CodeGen have developed a broad range of software used in many fields. This includes software for large-scale real-time financial transactions, middleware for online auction and retail applications, enterprise resources planning software, travel and ticketing engines, custom applications to streamline businesses and operations, and even artificial intelligence. There are IT companies in Sri Lanka which have been developed software facilitating overseas evaluation of medical imaging for American hospitals and battle simulation training software used by some of the world's leading militaries. The overall quality and high level of innovation in Sri Lanka's IT industry is widely recognized and its future potential is immense. In this context, it is very heartening to note that the University of Moratuwa has been ranked as the world's leading institution in Google's Summer of Code programs from 2005 to 2012. More than twice as many of its students have been selected for stipends and awards as the next highest ranked university. In addition to these large and comparatively long established industries. There are several specialist Sri Lankan companies and outsourced production facilities in the country that make world-class industrial products and components. This includes companies active in non-traditional industries such as the production of sensors for automobile airbags and the manufacturing of yachts and boats. It has to be admitted, however, that one of the limiting factors for further innovation and growth in high-tech industries is that there are too few high-quality universities and research and development-oriented institutions in Sri Lanka. Nevertheless, as with the Sri Lanka Institute of Nanotechnology, which is a successful public-private partnership between the government of Sri Lanka and several leading private sector, there is a lot of potential for Sri Lanka to develop further in this area. One of the primary reasons for the successes of local businesses in various fields is the very high quality of Sri Lanka's human capital. Sri Lankan schools and universities produce smart and hard-working professionals in large number of sectors. These individuals have excelled in their chosen fields both in Sri Lanka and abroad. Due to the uncertain situation that prevailed in the country from the 1980s until 2009, however, many of our best and brightest left Sri Lanka to seek greener pastures in other countries. Whether these individuals left to escape the conflict or pursue higher education, obtain more lucrative employment, or enjoy a better quality of life, their departures was a serious loss to the nation. Now that Sri Lanka has overcome the problems it faced in the past and is poised for rapid, equitable growth, the time is right for expatriate Sri Lankans from all communities to consider coming back home. For its part, the government is very keen on creating an environment conducive for knowledge workers and other professionals to live and work in Sri Lanka. These individuals expect to maintain a high quality of life for themselves and their families. They therefore require a social and physical environment that is of a high standard. The creation of such an environment is also extremely important from the perspective of attracting foreign direct investment and for the further development of local industries and businesses. It is for these reasons that the Ministry of Defence and Urban Development, together with the provincial and local authorities, has undertaken a range of programs throughout the country to uplift the quality of the country's metropolitan areas. The focus is on developing clean, green, people-friendly cities and towns that will foster an efficient working environment and a relaxed living environment. In Colombo, a lot of work has been done in the recent past to address the many issues that the city faced due to its organic growth over the last few decades. The government is shifting its administrative functions to Sri Jawadanapura area so that Colombo will have more space in which to grow as a world-class commercial hub. Old infrastructure that had been largely neglected, such as the canal network and the drainage and sewerage systems is being improved. Plans are in place to augment and improve the efficiency of water supply distribution and electricity transmission. Management of municipal solid waste is another area that has received considerable attention in the recent past. Studies are presently being conducted on how to address this issue successfully in the long term. There are also studies being conducted with a view to easing traffic congestion in the city, with the introduction of a mass transit system being seriously considered as a solution. Much work is also being done to regain Colombo's former reputation as the garden city of the East. Urban life has been rejuvenated with the establishment of public open spaces for people to exercise, socialize and relax in. The quality of the waterways and the Boughy Lake in the city centre is being improved. This will enable more recreational activities to take place on and around the water bodies, while also uplifting the natural character of the city. Walls that had been erected in public places due to security concerns stemming from the war have been removed, opening up new vistas of greenery and beautiful architecture for people to see and enjoy. Landmark historic sites such as the Dutch Hospital, the Colombo Racecourse and the former Auditor General's Department complex have been renovated and given a new lease of life. These sites are becoming increasingly popular amongst locals and tourists alike and are contributing to the city's new vibrancy. It should be noted that international investors and the local private sector alike have seized upon the many opportunities being created through these programs. Over the next decade, the quality of Colombo's real estate and its skyline will transform dramatically as world-class hotels, apartment complexes, office buildings and entertainment venues are established here. The majority of the buildings shown on these slides represents projects whose development is already well in advance. These developments and other programs of the government will help transform Colombo into one of the leading commercial hubs in the South Asian region. It is in fact possible that Colombo will soon become South Asia's world city. It will be the dynamic centerpiece of a country that is fast achieving its aspirations to be the wonder of Asia. Apart from the Metro Colombo region, the government has also focused on uplifting the standards of other key urban centers. A great deal of attention has been paid to the uplifting of Hambantota, assisted by the establishment of the harbour and the close by Mattala International Airport. Hambantota has enormous potential to develop as an industrial and logistics hub as a result of its location in close proximity to one of the busiest sea lanes of communication in the world. There is considerable private sector interest in the development of this region as well. Steps have also been taken to improve the quality of well-established cities such as Kandy and Galle. Smaller cities such as Anuradhapura, Jaffna, Mathura, Nuwara and Trincomalee are also being developed rapidly so that the quality of life of their residents and visitors will also be improved. In parallel to these urban development efforts, The government is also improving transport infrastructure so that travel time within and between these cities will be improved dramatically. The creation of the expressway network is a key undertaking in this regard, as is the upgrading and expansion of the railway network. Through the uplifting of road and rail and the upgrading of smaller regional airports to facilitate domestic air travel, cities throughout the country as well as Sri Lanka's many wonderful tourist attractions are becoming much more convenient to access. Sri Lanka is a nation blessed with wonderful sandy beaches, serene hill country stations, sprawling wildlife parks, and many beautiful ancient sites steeped in history. There are world-class luxury and boutique hotels in close proximity to most of these attractions, and more facilities are coming up every year. Knowledge workers and other professionals who choose to live and work in Sri Lanka have ample opportunity to enjoy these high-quality holiday destinations that exist throughout the country. With all of the developments and opportunities noted during this address and in the preceding speeches, it is clear that Sri Lanka has tremendous potential to develop much further. The government is keen to work with the private sector and civil society to overcome issues the nation faces in order to realize this potential. During the rest of this conference, I trust that you will discuss ways and means to overcome these issues and to steer Sri Lanka towards a much brighter future. The nation needs your contribution to thrive. Together, I have every confidence that we can transform this country not only into Asia's next knowledge hub, but also the wonder of Asia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rajapaksa, for that very insightful speech indicating Sri Lanka's great potential surrounding the 5 different hubs and our ability to compete at a global level on many different areas. I would now like to warmly welcome Mr. Hussain Yusuf Ali, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Hemas Holdings PLC. In 2001, Mr. Yusuf Ali assumed responsibilities as CEO of Hemas, a diversified conglomerate which serves local and international customers. In 2003, as Chairman of Hemas, he was also instrumental in leading the company to achieve one of the most successful listings on the Colombo Stock Exchange. Previously, Mr. Yusuf Ali served as the Managing Director of the fast-moving consumer goods or FMCG business, where Hemas emerged as a dynamic local competitor in the face of strong multinational competition. Mr. Yusuf Ali is involved in several industry associations, including the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, where he serves on the committee. He is also a member of the Board of Management of the Postgraduate Institute of Management. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree. Welcome Mr. Hussain Yusuf Ali to outline the private sector role in Asia's next knowledge hub.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the Secretary of Defence and Urban Development, Mr. Ajit Kumar Cabral, Governor of the Central Bank, Sanjeev Virwanda, and other organizers and distinguished invitees. My task today has been to spell out the private sector vision that we see ahead of us. And after that very insightful and very inspirational speech by Mr. Rajapaksa, I think some of what I had to say may seem quite basic, but I will try to take you through, and this is not a private sector vision, this is really a vision that I have put together from the various government authorities and also the deliberations that I have been involved in the chamber and other associations, and of course the experience of our own company. So from a macro perspective, and you can find this in the BOI when you get a much more detail about this. They cite 10 reasons why you should invest in Sri Lanka. So, of course, I'm sure the governor will talk more about the economy. I think Sri Lanka's growth rate is amongst the fastest in Asia, South Asia, and perhaps even the world at some point. And I think in terms of our per capita income, we are now coming out from fairly basic standard of living, and I'm going to see exponential changes in the way life carries on here. The infrastructure, of course, is something that we can all see for ourselves. The amazing changes in infrastructure even over these last years. I mean, you can travel to Galle in an hour, you can go to the airport in 15 minutes, and there are so many other aspects of this that really enhance commerce and are really game changers. And of course, the quality of life. I think that was focused a lot in the last address. I mean, I myself, I came back after completing university in 1981. And 1983, of course, the trouble started. So for over 3 decades, life has been difficult here in terms of how much you can get about, the safety and security concerns and all that. But the changes we have seen in the last 5 years are absolutely dramatic. I, for one, never thought that the barriers would go down, during my lifetime. But the speed at which things have happened is very heartening, and I think is going to be one of the main reasons why people choose Sri Lanka as a destination to work and to live. So what I thought I'll do is, rather than give you macro stories, what I'll try to do is take you through 5 specific sectors: healthcare, leisure, apparel, logistics, and the IT BPO industry. And I'll try to paint for you a picture of what Sri Lanka could be in 2020. So let's start with the healthcare industry. Up to now, the local healthcare system essentially takes care of Sri Lankan people. Much of the inpatient care happens in government hospitals, although there has been some shift due to the private hospitals coming here, and a lot of outpatient care also gets treated there. But going forward, I think Sri Lanka has an amazing potential for this industry. Medical tourism, as many of you may know, is a major revenue earner for countries like Singapore and Malaysia, who have fashioned their entire strategies around this. We only so far see medical tourism coming from the Maldives. But I think in time to come, this could be a major industry here in Sri Lanka. For the local people, private hospitals are coming up, not only in Colombo, but I think by 2020 you're going to see good quality private hospitals in most of the major towns in Sri Lanka. And these private hospitals will be run, they will offer you most of your healthcare needs, and Sri Lankans won't need to go overseas anymore to get anything done. We have some of the best doctors in the world, and with the hospital network increasing, and I'm sure teaching hospitals will be a part of that, especially now with private medical colleges, I think, also being encouraged by the government. I think we are going to see a far higher degree of healthcare that we have seen in the past. The government is also keen to have a certain amount of self-sufficiency in our manufacture of pharmaceuticals. This is an industry where today most of the pharmaceuticals we consume actually come from India, and there is now a push to have some amount of this manufactured locally, and I think there's tremendous prospects not only to cater for Sri Lanka but also for the African and other countries in the subcontinent. So the point is, to do all this, one of the biggest issues that we face is the lack of specialized knowledge. If you're trying to develop a pharmaceutical industry, you can't do that without high quality research and development resources. Or if you're trying to develop other areas, I mean even an area like having insurance coverage for everybody needs experience. And this, I think a lot of this experience resides in Sri Lankans who are working and who are living abroad. So it will require some of that expertise to come back to Sri Lanka for us to develop this industry. Leisure is something the Sri Lankans are very good at it. I think it's in our genes. But Sri Lanka so far as a premier leisure destination has obviously not been able to meet its potential because of the conflict that we have had. But going forward, I think this is one of the key industries that is going to emerge. I hope by 2020 we will measure the success of our leisure strategy, not by the number of tourists that come in this country, but by the number of dollars that we earn from this very, very important industry. We're going to see, I think, many things change in this industry. International hotel chains are going to change the bar, and there's going to be a very big difference, and a very difference in the quality of services and products that are offered. There are going to be other developments like the villas where you get overseas, you can go and you can take a timeshare, or you can buy a villa, or so that is tremendously popular, and Sri Lanka as a destination to have a second home or to have a villa as an investment I think is going to be very attractive. And there are other efforts to develop the marinas and to develop the whole, to take advantage of Sri Lanka not only from a transport hub, but also from, for yachts and sailing and other leisure destinations, leisure activities. Sri Lanka could have a lot of advantages. And one of the things most tourists say when they come here is that there's not enough to do. You come to Sri Lanka, you book into a hotel, but what do you do after that? I think especially in Colombo and Galle and other places like this now, we are seeing much more variety to the tourists. And this is what makes tourists come and spend their dollars, and it's important for them to have those opportunities to have a more holistic holiday. Also things like Ayurvedic spas. We have seen how countries like, states like Kerala and also other destinations have a leverage on the experience that tourists want, to get pampered, to have a really relaxed holiday. So I think Sri Lanka again we have a heritage in this. So it is how we can effect and how we can deliver this heritage in a premier and a high-end manner to tourists that will make a big difference. I think there was a lot said about apparel. This is obviously one area where Sri Lanka has had a fair degree of success in the international arena. We have a world-class apparel industry. I think they are looking to hit $5 billion by 2020. But so far we have been positioned mainly as a manufacturing destination. We manufacture and export apparel. But going forward, I think more and more some of the big firms are trying to capture more of the value that gets done to a garment a garment that they export at $4, where all the fabric is specified, the design is given, and whatever. I think in time to come, by 2020, Sri Lanka could have its own design capability, it could have its own fabric capability, and it could be a total solution provider for someone seeking to buy apparel. Also, recently the government has gazetted the Entrepot Gazette, where I think where you can have free trade in certain specified ports. This could be very important for the apparel industry. No more do they have to only source from Sri Lanka. They can bring in garments from other locations. They can add value in Sri Lanka. They can mix it, and they can prepare the package and actually ship it right to the store in a very effective and fast manner. So I think that's going to be important. Some of the larger players again are trying to develop their own brands. Developing own brands in the apparel industry is a very, very difficult and very capital intensive exercise, but they are trying. I know MAS is in India with a brand called Amante, and they are making some headroads. So I believe again by 2020 we could see Sri Lanka having some of its own brands out there in the market, even if it is in South Asia or in the close proximity. Buying apparel, the experience of buying apparel in Sri Lanka also I'm sure is going to change dramatically. There's going to be, whilst there are a few sort of malls today, I'm sure by then there will be high-end malls or other, fairly extensive malls where you can go in there, you can buy brands, foreign brands, but also Sri Lankan brands, and this will in turn, improve the quality of the apparel industry. From the logistics, I think we have seen there's been much said about Sri Lanka's positioning, its geographical positioning on the main trade lanes. So far, I think the country has been, most of our traffic that comes in is actually transshipment traffic. I think 80-85% of it gets actually shipped out. It's transshipment traffic from India. But going forward, I think by 2020 again, it could be a very different case. Sri Lanka could have a big future in making it as a logistics hub, where people would use the country to store their products for distribution in the region and bring with it various value additions. So there's a lot of potential, especially with the developments in and around the ports. I had a figure like $10 billion is what they're hoping to develop just inside the ports. You must be all familiar with the developments in the South Port and in the Colombo Port in general, and of course the Hambantota Port. So all these investments will make it really interesting for people who are looking to base their operations in here. The Freeport operation also is something that the government is trying to take forward. We've seen how ports like Jebel Ali and even Singapore have developed this concept, and it is a major part of the economy. So I think by then Sri Lanka also could have its own place, its own offering in this area. The oil and gas sector is something that still is to come up. There have been some hopeful signs that we will have commercially viable exploration coming up. I think there are already firms operating. I think the possibility of generating gas in the next few years is something that is fairly certain. But if that industry develops, that could totally change the country's prospects, and with it there will be a whole new set of logistics needs that comes in order to cater to the oil rigs, cater to the exploration. There will be a lot of opportunities in this area. The knowledge hub, of course, I think I'm sure many of you here will be more familiar with that. But I think there are so many. Sri Lanka has, after the UK, I think we produce the largest number of finance professionals. So we should use that knowledge, I'm sure, to capitalize on it and to offer high-end outsourcing solutions to people. Of course, I think we need high-quality educational institutions. Perhaps by 2020 we might have, maybe not an Ivy League, but we may have a big university coming and set up here. With that, there would be maybe research capability and other capabilities coming into the country that we could then use to develop this industry. Already the country has achieved a fair amount of accolades for its outsourcing business, and I'm sure going forward we would see that becoming a major player in Sri Lanka's economy. So my message to those of you who are, I understand that many people from the audience are actually people from Sri Lanka Sri Lanka living overseas who may be here on vacation or whatever, and you've taken the chance to attend this conference. So my message is really don't miss out. I think Sri Lanka's future going forward is absolutely clear for those of us who have struggled over the last 30 years. They've not done so badly here. I think the message is really that we are in for the ride of our lives. So I think especially during a time when things out there in the West and in other countries are getting difficult, I think there are tremendous prospects. So let me just take this opportunity just to say that whilst I know the program is titled Work in Sri Lanka, I think even if you don't come in and physically work in Sri Lanka, there are many ways for you to interact with your motherland and to contribute to Sri Lanka's progress, and of course for your own benefit. One of the big things I think that we stand to gain from people coming overseas and starting here is actually in the range of entrepreneurial activity. What we benefit from when people come here and start a business, get something going, I think that creates tremendous value for the country at large. If we take our own business, I work in a company which is in healthcare, and we are trying to develop a presence in pharmaceutical manufacture. But one of the big things that we lack is we don't have any scientists here. So for people like scientists, engineers, and other people who have gone overseas and have the experience of working with, whether it's large multinationals or other companies, I think it is I would say that type of talent which really the country needs in order for us to develop. So if you are living overseas and you don't really want to make the move out here, there are other ways that you can engage. You can help Sri Lankans get access to markets, maybe by being a local representative or an agent or just doing a part-time thing. You can consult for Sri Lankans. I think we would even if you don't, even if you're not here full-time, I mean, if you come over here maybe as a non-executive director in an organization or you're working as an advisory capacity, I think the knowledge is what is most important. The work hours, we can throw bodies at these solutions, but that high-level knowledge is really invaluable for us. Many of you will have contacts overseas, networks overseas, so this is something that is really difficult to access, you can use those contacts and networks in order to engage with your country. Sri Lanka's real estate, I'm sure is going to see a boom, not only in Colombo. The highways are opening up new localities, and there are leisure destinations coming up. So investment in real estate for Sri Lankans, or it may be for people who are keen to invest in their hometown, I think that again is something that offers a lot of upside. Or just support a charity. there's a lot of need in Sri Lanka for especially for the marginalized communities. So if you made your money out there and you want to give something back, a great way to do is come and support a charity. And through that engagement, maybe it will lead to other things. And that is also a good way to go. And of course, last but not least, enjoy your holidays in Sri Lanka, bring your friends, and bring people who might have an interest in this country and who might, because one of the things that we see, I take Chogam for example, when we participated in the business forum there, people were just amazed. They said, we came to Sri Lanka, we thought, this place has gone through a very difficult time, but we are really amazed at the country. So one thing that you can be sure is if you bring friends out here, there are very few cases I find, where people go back disappointed. More often than not, they are surprised and they are like, wow, we never thought Sri Lanka was like this. So this is my last slide, and this is more just putting up some ideas about so how we can, because it's not enough to wait for people to come and work here. I think we have to do our bit in reaching out to them. I think from the state and from those of us in business, reaching out, engaging with the diaspora and using their knowledge and networks to come in here, engaging with people who have maybe recently migrated but who still have lots of contacts back here in Sri Lanka, and last but not least, engaging with students who are going there. I think the message should be go there, have an education, get some experience, but at the end of it come back. There are perhaps going to be more opportunities here than there are going to be out there. For many people, even people who recently migrate, retaining that Sri Lankan passport, I think, is a very important thing. So perhaps we can make it easier for people, although they have chosen to live overseas, perhaps we could make it easier for them to retain their passport. India has something called OCI. Some of you may be familiar with it, but it recognizes people of Indian origin. And it gives them certain benefits in terms of, like, they don't need visas to come back, or they can open bank accounts, they can invest. So similarly to that, if Sri Lanka, and I think we have, I don't know the exact number, but 1 million, 2 million people residing overseas, and like for a small country with 20 million people, that's a big number. So if we could find a way to reach out for those people and give them some special treatment for them, so that they look at Sri Lanka as their preferred source of investment, and if there was something back home for them, I think that would be interesting. As I said, investment in real estate, and yeah, I think I've touched on this, encouraging intellectual elites, and from that I meant scientists, doctors, other professionals who have gone out there, or even businessmen who have gone out there and created value there, to come back here and give back to the country. And I think what would be really interesting is, I don't know whether maybe a suggestion for the organizers, whether is it possible to have a database of Sri Lankans who are living overseas. So for companies like ours, let's say we're looking for a scientist who has worked in the area of tuberculosis or something like that, or whether it's an expert who knows how to run a boutique spa. So if we could have that type of database, then it makes it easy for the companies to reach out and to try and engage in a contact and see how they can contribute to our development plans as we go forward. So that's what I have to say, and thank you very much, and enjoy the conference, which I hope will be very fruitful. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yusufali, for that very informative speech and for highlighting the significant role the private sector is playing in our growing economy. Next, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Mr. Ajit Nimad Cabral, Governor of Central Bank of Sri Lanka, who will address the audience on economic opportunities in Sri Lanka, Asia's next knowledge hub. Mr. Cabral serves as the 12th Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka and the Chairman of the Monetary Board since July 2006, and also functions as an alternate Governor of the International Monetary Fund. Mr. Cabral is also a past President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka and South Asian Federation of Accountants. Prior to his appointment as the Governor, Mr. Cabral was the advisor to His Excellency, the President on Economic Affairs and the Secretary, Ministry of Plan Implementation. In the year 2005, he was also closely associated in the development of the Mahinda Chintana, which currently serves as the policy framework and development plan of the government. During his tenure as Governor, Mr. Cabral has been able to steer the transformation of the Sri Lankan economy to be a safe and stable investment destination and a middle-income emerging market nation. For those of you who were at the launch of the Work in Sri Lanka project in May 2013, you may recall that Mr. Cabral was the keynote speaker at that event, where he highlighted the paradigm shift in the mindset of Sri Lankans as more are considering working in Sri Lanka rather than outside. He also pointed out that while people may have left Sri Lanka for different reasons, that the country must now welcome them back and create new spaces for them in this growing economy. I now invite Mr. Ajit Nimar Cabral to address the audience.
Secretary to the Ministry of Defence and Urban Development, Mr. BAallroom, Mr. Yusuf Ali, Ms. Gillian Das, the Chairperson of Work in Sri Lanka, other distinguished invitees, my dear friends. I think two excellent presentations have been made already, and I am very conscious that there isn't much that I could add to those two presentations. They took you through the situation in our country. They also spoke about the opportunities that we would have in our country now as well as for the future. And I believe those captured the essence of what you are today looking at doing, mainly enticing people to come back and work in Sri Lanka. The presentations went further in not only guiding you through why you should come to and work in Sri Lanka, but also in the various ways in which you could make that contribution, and also to be convinced that Sri Lanka is on the track to be able to give that space for people to work in a consistent and a continuing manner. And I'm very conscious that those have been excellent presentations, which I'm sure you would use in your deliberations as well. So it's very simple for me, because I don't really need to go too much into depth about what I could contribute towards this conference. But let me try and give you a picture of where Sri Lanka is going and how we intend to go there. As you know, in 2005, as the introducer mentioned, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa was one of the key members in the team which constructed the Mahinda Chintana and supported the President in order to fashion those thoughts together. And I was also involved in that process. And I remember distinctly, the mood of the country at that time was dismal, was of a defeatist attitude, and that is captured, my dear friends, in a simple anecdote that I remember very vividly. The Mahinda Chintana vision for the future speaks about the President saying that he will construct 20 flyovers, just 20 flyovers in the 6-year period. And I went to an audience like this in 2005 to explain the economic policies of the President, or the President-to-be, at that time he was the Prime Minister. And there were many cynical comments that were made. They are going to build 20 flyovers in this Sri Lanka? No, it's not going to happen. That was the mood. I remember my friends coming to my office when I became the governor, which overlooks the Indian Ocean, beautiful, vast expanse of blue ocean. And I'm telling them, this is where the new port is going to be. And they all laughed once again. You're going to have a port here? No way. That was the mood. Today, you saw the pictures that Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa showed you. Those are not dreams. Those are now reality. Those can be seen by you. When you go across, you can see the port city being built, new areas being added on to our country's land mass. You can see the beauty that has been re-emerging out of the ruined buildings that we have seen in the past. You can see energetic people going to these beautiful new buildings and enjoying themselves. You can see the construction towers all over the country. A few days ago, one of my friends from abroad wanted to go up to a high-rise building to take some pictures of the city. And I don't know whether you remember, whether you can really fathom this. There were 115 tower cranes that they counted from that one single location. What does that signify? That shows the transformation. And what does that signify to you as young people? It shows that there is a consistent pipeline of investment that is coming in to this country in order to keep the momentum going. One of the most difficult aspects of economic management is to maintain the momentum. Sometimes when I go out at about 1:30 in the afternoon and get stuck in a traffic jam, what hits me is the number of school children who are leaving the school, coming out laughing, joking, prodding each other, sending SMSs also. I think, how are we going to find jobs for them? What is the way that we could see the pipeline of projects taking place, the new opportunities taking place, in order to ensure that when they leave out from the schools, when they leave the schools and they go to the outside world, that they will not be stranded, that they will not be left behind on top of some, in Sinhala we used to say a bokkuwa, and wait on some dream, hoping that they will find a job. That transformation, my dear friends, has to take place. And in order for that to take place each year, there has to be new industries, services, systems coming into our country, not only to support what is available today, but also support the future. That is the challenge that we have. That is why the President, in his second term of office, he came up with a new thinking to take Sri Lanka forward after the initial difficulties were all dealt with. He spoke about 5 hubs plus tourism. What was the reason for that? The reason is the consistent expansion of our economy beyond the traditional areas that we had been hitherto used to. That was needed in order to give the additional space for the economy not to get stuck in a middle income trap like what many countries experienced in their journey. It was necessary for us to ensure that the momentum is there not only in particular areas but also in a wider network of areas. So we made use of the strengths, like what Mr. Yusuf Ali would do in his own organization when he is considering an expansion of his company. You would see what are the strengths that we have. How can we make use of those strengths? So Sri Lanka also did a SWOT analysis. That SWOT analysis revealed that we have tremendous opportunities in the maritime, in the aviation, in the knowledge, in the information technology, the health services, the education, the energy. All these were areas that we had tremendous potential. So what we needed was a tweak and the momentum to be created for it to go forward. My dear friends, what we are experiencing today is that in order to ensure that those channels are kept moving, we've got to ensure that the macro fundamentals are safe and sound. We've got to ensure that the country is safe and sound. And we've got to ensure that there is a steady pipeline of people who are skillful, who are knowledgeable, who can come in and take positions in that expanding economy. So the stage is set, as Mr. Yusuf Ali quite rightly mentioned. The stage is set for us to move into the next level of development. And you can see from the pictures that Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa showed you that that is happening. It's no longer a pipe dream. It's no longer a situation where people will disbelieve when you say that the next level is being reached out. Today when I tell my friends, Mr. Rajapaksa, who come to visit me, that the new port city is going to be outside there from my window to be seen, and that the road network may be beautifully laid out so that even night races could be conducted, that we will have the best healthcare possible in that new city. Nobody is laughing. They know that it is serious today. They know it's going to happen. They know that we are now in a position to deliver. So that's the amount of convincing that you need to have, and where you need to go and tell your friends and you tell your colleagues, you can come back now, work in the ways that you feel comfortable. What we are saying and what we are doing is opening out the platform. The government is not intending to do business in those areas. The tourism, the aviation, the initial investments have been made. Initial investment has been made in ports. Initial investment has been made in constructing the roads, the network. Of course, it will continue as well. But today you have the platform on which you can make the investment yourself. You can go to the next level and reach out to the world. We need to have new entrepreneurs in our country who will also design new types of activities and who can connect to the world. And we are sure that those of you who are out there, who are today energized in this new Sri Lanka that has been built, that you would yourselves be convinced that you can now do it and that you will do it. So let me congratulate the organizers of this wonderful effort. They have taken the initiative. They have lit the first candle. They have dispelled the darkness. They are reaching out to their colleagues in the rest of the world to come and work in Sri Lanka. There have been many new ideas that have been strewn today as to how that could be done. And I don't intend to reinvent the wheel, but I merely want to add to the overall thought process that is taking place today, that Sri Lanka is on a forward march, that we intend keeping our country safe, we intend ensuring that our country's macro fundamentals would be benign on a continuous basis, we intend ensuring that the capacity to do business is improved on a day-to-day basis, and that would be the guarantee that you would have to work in Sri Lanka, play in Sri Lanka, and live well in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cabral, for reminding us of the importance of dreaming big and reaching far to achieve things that many of us feel that cannot be done. Ladies and gentlemen, having heard 3 truly inspiring speeches, we would now like to take a small break. We invite all of you to partake in refreshments and tea served outside. Please be in your seats by 11:20 a.m. as we would like to start the next session as soon as possible. Thank you.